ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So here, Krishna conscious person is described with his symptoms and how Krishna conscious person is different from an ordinary man. An ordinary man was described before this. Pious man, but he acts for sense gratification. They may go to higher planets like the moon planet. So they may be elevated in their material position. But then Lord Kapila described it is very futile attempt, because at the end of this creation, when this creation is wound off, even the heavenly planets, even Brahmaloka will merge into the body of the Lord. So one will not be able to stay permanently even in the heavenly planets. So here, because one may wonder, if one acts sinfully, Lord Kapila had described how much suffering he undergoes. That was already described. How in varieties of different planets, hellish planet, one suffers. Tamishra, Andha Tamishra, varieties of planets are there, depending upon what kind of sinful activities one has performed. He undergoes that kind of punishments. We also saw that when such a sinful man dies, the order carriers of Yamraj bind him with a rope, bind his subtle body with a rope, and drag him to the abode of Yamraj. There is a scorching heat from all the sides, and then his body is set into fire. He is given a Yatana Sharira, and then from the backside, the Yamadutas lash him. And then he is fatigued, he wants water, he is hungry, but nothing is available. And because of his tiredness, he falls down. And again he is made to wake up and again walk. So like that, varieties of sinful activities the person had done, one suffers the results of all these sinful activities. And then he is thrown into lower species of life, and after he has passed over, exhausted his punishments, once again he is given birth in the human form of life to at least now reform his future life. So that was described. Later on we see Lord Kapila also described about, in this chapter, this is called entanglement in fruitive activities. So wherein a person becomes very much accustomed to perform fruitive activities for sense enjoyment, and he may act according to the Vedic scriptures, the direction given in the Vedic scriptures, performing varieties of worships like worshipping the different devatas, worshipping the forefathers, that was also described. And as a result, he may be elevated in his next life. For many lives, he may be elevated and he may enjoy. And then Lord Kapila described how that is also actually a very futile attempt, because we saw that there are two kinds of annihilation. When Lord Brahma's one day is over, that means his morning time is over, when Lord Brahma goes to sleep in the night, all the lower planetary systems are vanquished. They are annihilated. And when Brahma wakes up after his night, he again creates all these lower planetary systems. That means, apart from the higher planet like the Brahma Loka, the lower planets are all dissolved. Once again there is creation. But when the Lord Garbhodakshai Vishnu goes to sleep in his Yoga Nidra, and he inhales with his inhalation all these universes, including Brahma, Brahma Loka, everything merges in the body of the Supreme Lord. This material creation is wound off by the Lord. And once again, when the Lord exhales, this material creation again comes out. So that is their so-called happiness, enjoyment in the heavenly planet. Now, Lord Kapila is giving the conclusion that actually one should be sober, one should be dhira, one should be intelligent to understand all these things. And that is why Bhagavatam is describing all these different varieties of material entanglement, whether through good work or bad work, one undergoes. And perpetually he is bound in this material world. So, the intelligent man, what does he do? Somebody may think, okay, acting piously is also entanglement. Acting sinfully is also entanglement. Why not stop all work? One may come to this conclusion, and it is a fact. These jnanis or these yogis, they come to this conclusion. They think like this. They give the example that till the pot is not filled completely, it makes sound. That means it acts. When the pot is completely filled with water, it does not make sound. That means it does not act anymore. So their idea is, when we are on material platform, you will act either piously or sinfully. When you are on spiritual platform, you stop acting. This is their understanding. So they are called Nirvisheshavadi, Shunyavadi. Everything becomes zero. Everything is without attributes. Everything in the spiritual life is without activity. There is no activity. Because they have never experienced spiritual activities, spiritual attributes. You see, Bhagavatam describes this. Atma Ramascha Muniyo Nirgranthi Upi Urukrama Kurvanti Ahetukum Bhakti Itham Bhuta Gune Hari. That even one who has become Atma Rama. He is no more having any kind of material activities. He does not desire anything material. He is satisfied in the self alone. Atma Ramascha Muniyo and Nirgranthi. He is no more bound in this material world. He has become liberated. Nirgranthi. Api, even such a personality, Urukrama, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is called Urukrama. Kurvanti bhaktim ahetukim. He still acts Kurvanti bhaktim in devotional service. Why? Itham bhuta gune harihi. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has so many wonderful qualities. One may have become free from material qualities, but after understanding the Supreme Lord has so many wonderful spiritual qualities, one acts in devotional service. You see? This is very important thing. This is exactly what is explained in today's verse. Even in Bhagavad Gita, you find Arjuna's idea was to act for sense gratification is very painful. I will not act. He wanted to retire from action. And whole Bhagavad Gita is spoken so that he can act with knowledge. This is the difference. You see, action in ignorance will cause bondage. Action with enlightenment is actually cause of liberation from this world. In the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna describes the eightfold yoga system of Ashtanga, you see the very first verse, Krishna is describing who is a yogi and who is a sannyasi. See, generally, this is a misconception people have. Yogi has renounced all activities. Sannyasi has renounced all activities, correct? This is what people think. Sannyasa. He has renounced everything. So that means, and actually it is a fact, many of these sannyasis, they are actually supposed to be doing daily Agnihotra Yagna, according to the Vedic scriptures. But they renounce lighting up fire. And even the Ashtanga yogis, they are actually supposed to be doing spiritual activities. How? Krishna describes there are 2 stages of yoga. Anyone knows? Yoga Rudha and Yoga Rurukshu. One is the beginning of yoga and one is at the final stage of yoga, Yoga Rudha. One has come to the perfection of yoga and he is completely absorbed in only thinking about the Supreme Lord without any kind of distraction at all. Continuously, he is absorbed in samadhi. That is called the advanced stage of yoga. And when one is in the beginning stages of yoga, when he is practicing yama, niyama, asana, all these are varieties of different activities in yoga. You see, at that time he is not supposed to give up any activity. Those activities become the cause of his liberation. Those activities become the cause of his purification of mind and coming to the stage of advanced stage of yoga. At that time he can give up physical activities and be completely absorbed in Krishna. Just like Madhvendra Puri. So that stage can be attained even in Krishna consciousness. In the neophyte stage, one should not retire from activities in Krishna consciousness. Very important. Even an Uttamadhikari comes to the level of Madhyamadhikari to show us how to preach Krishna consciousness, how to practice and how to preach. Only in the very advanced stage, and even we find Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling Haridas Thakur, you are already on the perfectional stage. You don't require to chant prescribed number of rounds. But Srila Haridas Thakur would not. He would say, no, I have not completed my round. I have to complete my rounds. Even in his old age. So they set an example. So it is said about the 6 Goswamis, Sankhya Purvaka. They counted. So that means they showed us how we should not be retiring. So, like Haridas Thakur, chanting at one place, sitting down in one place for hours together and chanting. That is a very advanced stage of Krishna consciousness. So, in the 6th chapter, right in the beginning, Krishna explains what is a sannyasi and who is a yogi. So generally, as I said, sannyasi is considered to be one who has renounced all activities. Yogi is also considered to be one who has renounced activities and is simply meditating on the Supreme Lord. So, Krishna explains this very nicely right in the beginning of 6th chapter. He says, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashritah karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na cha akriyaha. So Krishna is explaining Anashrita karma phalam. Anashrita means taking shelter. One who does not take shelter of the fruits of his action. Karma phalam. Karma phalam means whatever results one obtain by performing activities. So Krishna is not telling no action. Krishna is telling you don't be attached to the fruit of that action. Action has to be performed. Action should not be given up. Fruit of the action has to be given up. And where it is to be given up? Prabhupada says, suppose you endeavor hard and you grow one mango plant. Every day you are watering. Every day you are putting some manure. You are taking care of it. And then one day fruit will come. So Prabhupada says, should we throw away that fruit? Isn't it? That is not the idea. It is not that the fruit has to be thrown away. The fruit has to be offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That Krishna has already explained in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Yad karoshi, yad juhoshi, yad tapasi, kurustad mad arpanam. Simply offer everything unto me. And karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Krishna said that also very clearly. The fruit does not belong to you. You have a right over something. You have a right over your duty, your work. You have no right. Adhikara means right. So that means somebody else has the right. You don't have right. You are not the owner of that. It does not belong to you. So then fruit belongs to whom? It belongs to the proprietor. This body, I am not the proprietor. These senses, I am not the proprietor. proprietor is Krishna. He is called Rishikesha. He is the master of senses. Isn't it? So, when we use the fruit to dedicate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he becomes a sannyasi. He becomes a yogi. How it is to be understood? Prabhupada says it is very simple. It is our constitutional position. It is just like the hand or the finger. These are the part of the body. Their constitutional position is to act for the body, to do work for the body. That is their position. Isn't it? So similarly, the constitutional position of every living entity is to work for the interest of the whole. We are only part, we are amsha. So we have to act for the interest of the whole. So that is the constitutional position. And in that constitutional position, the difference is like this. When the hand or the leg acts for its own satisfaction, it is diseased condition. When the hand or the leg acts for the satisfaction of the whole body, it is its healthy position. Similarly, when one acts for sense gratification, either sinfully or piously, it is still unhealthy condition of life. Still there is entanglement. But when one has become purified, Shuddha Chetasa, as it is described by Lord Kapila, and Dhira, when one has become intelligent, then what happens? He acts only for the interest of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And for such action, there is no material reaction. Imagine, actually. Just like Prabhupada explains, normally, if a wife disobeys the husband, goes and dances with somebody else, it is very sinful according to Vedic culture. But the same thing we find, even not caring for the orders of their husband tried to stop them. Gopis left their homes to dance with Krishna. And that is considered, Krishna is telling, they are the topmost of the devotees. You see. Then we find Prabhupada explaining about Arjuna. Generally, killing is considered to be sinful. And Arjuna wanted to avoid this kind of sinful activities. But after understanding Bhagavad Gita, he killed so many of his enemies, isn't it? And he became known as the most exalted devotee of the Lord. Where is the question of sinful activities? No question of sin. With a very simple example, Prabhupada explains. Just like in today's world, if devotees can understand this, they can become free from all anxieties. If devotees want to be free from all anxiety, this is the secret. They should understand, I am only a servant. When you try to lord over or control, you are thinking you are the controller, then you are filled with anxieties. When you understand, I am only servant acting on behalf of the master, where is anxiety? There is no anxiety for a servant. Anxiety is for the master, isn't it? It's very interesting. Prabhupada is explaining, if you see this, in the end Prabhupada is saying this. Shuddha Chetasa means Krishna consciousness. Their consciousness has become purified. In unpurified consciousness, one thinks of himself as the Lord of universe. This is the cause of anxiety. When we are not purified in our consciousness, and when we are thinking we are the controller, we are the master, this will result in all anxieties. But in purified consciousness, one thinks himself the eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because one may think, how Shuddha Chetasa is related to Prashanta. Prabhupada is saying it is related. If you become Shuddha Chetasa, if you become purified in your heart, you understand your constitutional position. That I am eternal servant of Krishna. I am not the Lord. I am not the controller. So what will happen? Then you become Prashanta. Completely satisfied. No anxiety. Prabhupada explains, just like the child is completely dependent on the parent, he has no anxiety. Parents may take anxiety. Parents may have anxiety. Where is my child going? Child has no anxiety whatsoever. Just dependent on the father. If he is catching, the moment father and mother is away, he is filled with anxiety. You give him toys, you give him chocolate, nothing can please him. So much difference. So that is how devotee becomes Prashanta. So this is very interesting. You should note it down. Prabhupada is saying, as long as one works for his personal sense gratification, he will always be full of anxieties. So this is the understanding. As long as you are working for your personal sense enjoyment, you are thinking, I am the controller, I am the master. It is not for satisfaction of Krishna. One cannot be free from anxiety. So Prabhupada is saying that is the difference between ordinary consciousness and Krishna consciousness. Ordinary consciousness, he is thinking he is the master, and that is why he is filled with anxieties. Krishna consciousness means he understands, he is purified in his consciousness, he is completely satisfied. Nisangaha. Nisangaha means completely out of three modes of material nature. See? So that is what is Krishna consciousness. So very interesting. Those who are intelligent and are of purified consciousness are completely satisfied in Krishna consciousness. Freed from modes, nisanga, freed from modes of material nature, they do not act for sense gratification. Rather, since they are situated in their own occupational duties, they act as one is expected to act. So they act in their constitutional position. That is the whole thing. So we'll stop with this Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.